What's up, guys? Saying bye here. Just had a wonderful, great time and great dinner with Cody as usual. We talked about many things, and I think now in this day and age with technology, we're kind of like obsessed with our phones, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and you're looking at people's Snapchat stories, right? But then I told myself, well, I don't have Snapchat, I don't have Instagram, I don't have Twitter, I only have Facebook, and I really like hearing other people's stories. So how you got to where you're at now? So what I was doing is I was asking people, hey, how did you get to where you're at now? And that was in my office, that was at church, that was at my own close friends, that's my family. Is like just hear stories. And I think I gained a lot from it because I get to hear everything that they experience. I get to kind of learn from possibly maybe some of the mistakes that they did. And of course, at the same time, they're giving me advice of don't do that, or maybe you should try something else, or you should try it out. So I challenge you guys, go out, talk to people, get inspired by other people's stories. Cody's making inspirations already everywhere. He's connecting people by featuring them on his videos, and he's connecting people by going to weddings, shooting photos. He's doing all of that. So go out. Talk to people. Listen to other people's story. Start off small. Go to your school if you're going to school. Work. Anywhere. Start listening to people. Having those conversations. No longer looking at your phone and looking at Snapchats of what they did, but have an intellectual, nice conversation with them. Challenge it, and I bet you get fed and inspired as much as I do. Had a great time. Cody's doing a very good job. Thanks to all of you who are supporting him, showing him love, and all those who might be doubting or don't like it, I would just suggest just keep it to yourself. I think Cody's doing a great job. He needs as much support and moral support as any of us do. So the second you see him, give him kudos, or just drop him a message, or even share the link, just like some of you are already doing. And to Cody, man, thank you again for doing a great job. Thank you for inspiring others. Thank you for connecting others. Thank you for sharing stories. And thanks for showing the love. You've definitely shown a lot in a big growth of maturity and everything. So I love you, man. Thanks, guys. Later.
In a friendship, it is a two-way street. So I wouldn't see it at I've always been doing stuff for you and you haven't done anything for me. The things that you have been doing have a lot of acknowledgement, and I've told you many times of how proud I am of you, of how good you have become as an individual person in your career, and the things you've done, because if you've done it on your own. And through that's not something you tell somebody, that is something you show somebody. Yeah, I distinguish how many people had left you, and I don't want to be another when you knew you wanted to come back. So I don't want to be another person to just give you the shoulder or just leave. And you had mentioned, Michael had disappeared, and yeah, he went on his own journey. And you had been on your very much your own journey for your entire life, where people just left you, and you were just kind of left to figure it out. I didn't want to be another person to do that. When we go upon things, right, it's that mindset of just getting 1% better. The goal will be inevitable. It's just if you focus on just that 1% improvement, then you'll get to that end result no matter what.
Boy, look at that. Oh, that's a pretty one.
Start with a prayer.
We could, man.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Actually, yes.
I like that Harry, my other friend, did that.
Cool.
And with my faith-based friends, I would like to kind of keep that a tradition.
Cool.
So if you'd like to lead us, go for it.
All right. For me, I'm Catholic, so we go Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, we thank you for the abundance of blessings you've provided us in our lives. Lord, we thank you so very much for the opportunity to grow individually every day. You give us lessons, you give us challenges, you give us everything and all the opportunities for us to become better, to love you, to love those around us. Lord, throughout these last couple of weeks, you've had me in a journey. And that journey simply has been challenging me to bring you into every single place and every single thing that you've done in my life. And the invitation that Cody has given to me here is simply one of those testaments to bring you in this place as well. So, Lord, we want to invite you here to this place of love, this place of perseverance, this place of growth as well. We want to invite you through this journey, this conversation, the many things that we have experienced and the many things that we will share with each other. May you be part and the foundation to all of that. Holy Spirit, we also want to invite you to just be here, be in the presence of joy, of peace, of wisdom, of knowledge. And may you continue also blessing us with everything that we need in our lives to nourish us and to grow us. Mama Mary, as the intercessor to many things, we ask you to be with us as well. May you take care of us like you took care of Jesus. And may you just simply point us towards your Son and always shine that radiant light that you have. Jesus, again, we thank you for everything we have in our lives. May you be with those that are not around us now. May you take care of my family, Cody's family that are back at home, wherever they may be. We say this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Well done.
Thanks, man.
That's how many years of worship and Life Teen and church?
Well, I would like to say that my resurgence of my faith started back in 2012. Yeah, so that, and I say resurgence because I was Catholic for my entire life, but it wasn't until 2012 where things really needed to be bad, and my wife, then just girlfriend, had challenged me very much to rediscover my faith. And it was in 2012, 2013, around that time where I really rediscovered my faith. And it's been since. It has been a journey. So it's been more than 10 years. So yeah, it's been good.
Well, it shows.
Yeah.
You've had an abundance of, I don't know what the word is, but I see it in my friends that have like the strongest faith. And maybe I'll touch on, you mentioned at our last men's group hangout, the retreat you went on, which was its own story in itself.
Yeah.
Not the best experience that you wanted, but you mentioned you consulted with a friend who had told you the reason why that happened is because it happened as it should be because you didn't pray enough for it or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there was, there was a lot of challenges in that retreat, and there was a lot of lessons learned.
mm-hmm.
And the emotions that I was feeling off of that retreat weren't very good. It were emotions of defeat for sure, of just not feeling good enough. And as I was processing how things went and the many things that still needed to get taken care of, a really good friend of mine, Alex, he simply told me that the retreat went exactly how it was supposed to, because my spiritual and the presence of God wasn't along with me in the journey of preparing for it. So, like many beautiful things, Jesus makes his appearance in his own way at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And either if one is prepared or not, it's just a matter of now, when we see that and we experience that we have to understand that is God given and God set. But sometimes we don't want to hear it. Yeah. Sometimes we do not want to hear it. It's not either our time. It's not what we like to hear, things in that matter. So it's just, that's part of the learning process. So it's been 2 weeks of constant reminder of needing to make sure that my prayer life is strong and preparing for many things, and then bringing Jesus into all of it. So it's been about 2 weeks now where I'm inviting Jesus into my workplace and inviting Jesus into today. Matter of fact, I played basketball for a little bit. I invited her to play with me, and it's just it was that, it's been that, and there has been a change in the way I feel as I approach things. And was it last week you asked me that you're getting ready for praise and worship, whatever?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had shared with you to begin praying for
Yeah.
what Jesus wants you to do then.
Yeah, you said that on the phone like a couple weeks before we met, and you told me the whole prayer story thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it didn't sink in until we hung out the men's group and started realizing that there's a power to that.
There is a power.
And for people that maybe don't believe in any of that, it's still almost a form of positive manifestation at the very least. But,
yeah. So if you remove the religious aspect, right? If you remove Jesus,
Right.
God, whatever it is, it's just bringing that good energy, as you say, into whatever is going to happen, and bringing in that positive sense of feeling and being into what you're going to do. And that's always good.
Yeah. So going back to the reason why I brought that up was I've noticed that with my very strong faith-based friends, that they seem to just get these crazy blessings upon blessings on life, whether it's through the process of buying a house or having kids. It's just, it almost, if you were to put it on a graph or a chart, it's like, hey, there's some evidence there that they're, there's a higher being working. And, it's just, I've noticed that people that are really strong with their faith, I don't know. It's just, I've noticed there's a difference in that.
You kind of discovered a correlation to it.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, me and my data and my points and stuff. But I'm like, I'm noticing that. And it's beautiful. And it's like, it's scary in a way too when I see that happen with friends. Like, wow, like, what are the odds? But, they're praying. They're strong. They're, strong with their faith and all that. So notice that. Were you strong with your faith when, you said 2012. So when we had met, you weren't a man of God.
No.
Wow.
No.
Interesting.
And
I don't think I've ever known that, to be honest.
Yeah.
We've
talked about this. It's so long ago. I'll put this over here, okay?
Sure.
So long ago that we had this discussion together. But it was around the same discussion. If you recall, I was living in Bolden Park. You had came for... I've forgotten what you had gone to my place for, and we got into a really good discussion around just life in general. And I had confessed to you that when I was coaching you guys, I was probably in the darkest place of my life. And to you, to anybody else, it really didn't see that way, right? Because there was a sense of energy, and there was a sense of feeling good when I was around all of you.
Sure.
Right? When I was coaching you guys. And in that moment in time, my problems and everything just kind of seemed to disappear for multiple reasons. Number one, I was physically being active, right? Because I was playing and I was exercising with you guys. I was also in water. That's my element. 100% my element.
Yeah.
Even till this day, if my wife knows this, that if I'm angry, upset, bothered, stressed out, she just tells me, go take a shower, because she knows that's my element.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, so while I was coaching you guys, I was in a tough spot, and God was everything to blame at that point. So I knew of God, but I was blaming everything on him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That you would blame him when you didn't follow him. Yeah. What's the point of even blaming the guy you're not even following?
It's just pushing the buck, right? It's pushing the buck and the blame on somebody else, or something else has happened, right? And we go through this, right? We go through this. We go through these up and downs, right? We start asking those that are practicing of any type, start asking God, why do bad things happen to good people, right? Mm-hmm. If God so loves the world, then why do all these evil things exist? And it's not until you go through your own discovery and your own spiritual journey that you will discover of how God really does work. He doesn't take sides. He doesn't take favors. He doesn't take any of that, right? But during that time where we were, in that team together, it wasn't good. And so when you pulled up that picture, you said 2010, and that was bad. That was tough. That was real tough.
That's when you you were, I mean, you had depression, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how much you want to elaborate on it. But you don't have to.
I mean, it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Right. I went to the psychologist. I was clinically given a diagnosis of severe depression and anxiety. I was on antidepressant medication for a while, as I was going through the therapist and stuff like that. I was having hallucinations at times, even in broad daylight. There were hallucinations based on just the way I was feeling.
A reflection of what you were feeling, basically.
Yeah. Like it was manifestations of what I was kind of going through. The nights were long. The nights were dark.
Insomnia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've had tremendous nightmares, sleepless nights. It was just vivid. I mean, I still remember them to this day, right? Kind of traumatic per se, but there were tough times. And that sleep deprivation per se also kind of brought into that hallucination part.
Yeah.
The negative energy that potentially I was internalizing, and that rage that was kind of being built within me was really kind of brought out in my dreams and at night. The nightmares I was having were pretty pretty evil, pretty intense, pretty aggressive. I was killing things in my dreams, and that's not my nature. But all of that aggression and everything that I was internalizing, it just kind of manifested during my nightmares and my dreams. And it was tough. And I met Gabby in 2010. We got together in October of 2010. So when she met me, or when we met each other...
It's months before that picture.
Yeah. When we met each other, I had simply told her I have no time. I have no love. And I have no hope. And so, she was just like, you're crazy, right? And she was in no way any type of perfect Christian either, right? She was going through her own things and everything too. But I think it was her perseverance too of really identifying the beauty within me, whatever it was that she saw at that point, that I was worth the chance, or I was worth something. So, it was through that. So from 2010 until 2012, when I rediscovered my faith, it was a constant argument between her and me in regards to going to mass, going to church, praying. And I just was very resistant and was very, very far away with even wanting to have a conversation with God. And it was just intense.
Where do you think all that darkness goes?
What do you mean?
You haven't felt it in forever, right?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I do know
I've thought about that too.
I do know what you mean.
Even my darker years, few years back, like, is it just let go? Is it just gone? Is it still in you but tamed?
No.
I don't know.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because we do hear about individuals that have a fallback or a regression.
Yeah.
Right? And that they go back into their old ways or whatever. But individuals like yourself, right? Or even myself too, when we persevere of acknowledging that we do not want to be there anymore, that there is no acceptance, no room for it to ever get that bad again.
Yeah, I remember you did mention something like that a couple years ago. In the last few years, it was something like you felt like you just had a lot on your plate. You were stressed out.
Yeah.
Your mood was not where you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And I think I remember asking you, like, because you had overcome depression, do you feel like you get the early warning signs and you can just negate it? You know what I mean?
You did ask me that.
Yeah.
So, you get a flavor and a taste of like, I don't want to go back to that place, right?
Yeah.
So easily one can just kind of switch the mindset, or it's like, snap out of it type of thing. Because we acknowledge it, because we've been there before.
Guess that's what makes us human, is learning from our mistakes.
100%.
I mean, that's pretty much, I guess,
There's 100%
the answer to that. But
yeah.
So water polo days. So I met you in I think I met you like 2007, because Michael, my brother, you guys played together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
He was the goalie. and you were point, you were hole, center, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys played together 4 years?
2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Yeah. And then you guys both graduated, and I stepped in.
Yeah.
Ishmael, I think, was the coach.
Coach Ishmael. Yeah.
And
yeah. Your brother and I, we had a really cool friendship too.
Yeah.
Right. And he and I were the co-captains to the team.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he was a co-captain to me too.
Your senior year together.
Yeah, our senior year together.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
he's the reason why we're friends. I would even say that. I mean, it's kind of like,
yeah, because you were around there too,
Right.
right? And so I got to meet you when you were in your younger years.
yeah.
And I didn't know that I was gonna get through that coaching journey either. It was Coach Ishmael that invited me back, and he's saying, "Hey, how would you like it if you coach the team going forward?" And that was an odd kind of handoff too. But I felt like that was a calling of a type.
That's cool.
Because I had a passion for the sport too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, your brother and I were co-captains to the team, and you know, he and I got some pretty good relationship in there. We had our own little warm-up routine, and we got ready for the games together, and we pumped up the team as much as we could.
That's cool.
And yeah, I mean, he was an amazing goalie too. And then here you come as just another succession to all of that.
I was little Squires for a while, Squires Junior, until like I started getting my own name. But yeah, I definitely adopted like all of his friends too. So
for sure,
most of them.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many I can list. But
so I mean, we can say it, right? You know, Michael Squires is a very particular person, right?
Yes.
He's a very funny, unique character, right?
Yeah.
He had put himself as the white shark.
Yes, that's right. The great white man. Yeah. I remember one morning he was like,
and he had a necklace.
oh yeah, the necklace. Yeah. Oh, the necklace. I saw the necklace every day, but I remember one time he was like drawing like a shark on his chest, like Jaws or something.
Nice.
For like the last senior rally day or something. But
It could have been.
yeah, but he's for sure. I mean, it's older brother. You know, you look up to your older brother, and he was swimming. He was in choir.
Yeah.
And I followed his lead right into high school. So, basically adopted all of his hobbies and his friends. So for myself, but yeah. And then a lot happened after that.
A lot
happened. I mean,
a lot has happened after that.
I made notes too before of just like when I sent you the invite, and there's too much to cover, but it's a lot of good times, a lot of darker times, but it's crazy to see you here now. I mean, after all these years, I don't know, it's kind of surreal sometimes.
Surreal.
Because you're kind of like an anchor in my timeline of my adult life, I guess. You know, there's moments where we didn't talk for a little bit. There's moments where we were talking, and you're always kind of like a constant there. And touching on Michael, just to be a little, I guess, transparent and just honest, Michael kind of disappeared right after high school.
Yeah.
For his own reasons. And, I saw him from time to time, but I feel like when life started to really beat me up, I needed someone that was like an older brother figure. And I feel like without asking you, kind of gave you that role. Mm-hmm. And you had been there for as early as the Geek Squad days, where you helped with the Celica and all the rewiring.
Man, those are good stuff, yeah.
All the way up to when I felt like I say overcome my depression, but I feel like I learned to manage it. I shouldn't say I've overcome it, but it's been a lot. You did a lot of mentoring for sure for many years, and that chipped away at me over time, because naturally or in its own way, I always felt like I was here and you were here, because I was looking to you for mentorship, and it brewed guilt, which I've actually never told you this. Mm-hmm. It brewed a lot of guilt. Even to this day, I still feel guilty of our friendship.
Why?
Because it always felt like you were helping me and I was never helping you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've always felt that way.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I had moved out from the Glendora space and I moved into here, and I kind of felt like I was here with, at least with you and the rest of the guys finally, where I was on my own 2 feet and doing all right and able to, take off from this point. But yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention on this podcast. was gonna list all the things you did for me, and I was gonna try to make a list of things I did for you, and it's what, I've
done a lot.
Yeah, so that's where I lead to my one and only real question I had to make this, an interview, I guess. But
Okay.
I saw it on another podcast, and it's a deep question, and sometimes people answer. I know you're not gonna answer it silly because I know you, but they say, sit down with a friend and ask him a very simple question of why are we friends?
Nice.
So why are we still friends? And I guess I'm asking you that from a perspective of where I've always felt like you were there when I had like no place to live. Not that you gave me a place to live, but you helped me out with just mental stuff. When my car wiring was just ripped from its sockets and you were there just helping me out. Just a lot of late night calls where I'm calling you crying because something's messed up with the family on my end, and just a lot. You taught me how to read, kind of. It sounds kind of wild, but you got me into reading. I mean, all those books right there. The first one there is Finish What You Started. There you go. And we did that in the men's group, and I remember bullshitting the first couple chapters.
Sure.
And you left me with the question, why lie? Why lie about reading? Just read the book, just read the damn book. So from that book, I got into reading because of you, and that's important. Yeah. And there was that moment where you're kind of just throwing me books my way of, stuff. But there it is again. I'm not recommending any books to you. You're recommending.
You have.
Okay, yeah, sure. But to go back to the point here, it's like it's always felt like I never was able to offer you what you offered me, So that's why maybe I've kind of made it clear to you when you invite me to stuff. It's very important to me that I show up for that reason, to at least be present. At the very least, I could be present for you.
And again, because this podcast is meant for your journey, right? Mm-hmm. Your statement right now only now resonates with literally what you just said of the hurt that you have also felt when I haven't showed up. If that makes sense, because there's been a couple of things.
My last birthday party.
Yeah,
I was hurt by that,
and you let me have it. You were just like, "Hey, I was really looking forward to being here. You said you were going to come," but this all stems from that mindset, right, of where you place our relationship, right, and there's no shame in that, right? When you really do appreciate or love, let's just say that, right? When you really love somebody. Anything that they do or say is really what can motivate you, influence you, or hurt you. True. So it's magnified in that way because of how much respect, love, adoration you have for that person. So if I could answer the question,
why are we friends?
Yeah, why are we friends? Yeah. I mean, we can go through all those different complexities of like the journeys that we have taken, right? But ultimately, I would say that we are friends because you have been teaching me things along your journey as well. And in a friendship, it is a two-way street. So I wouldn't see it at I've always been doing stuff for you and you haven't done anything for me. The things that you have been doing have a lot of acknowledgement. And I've told you many times of how proud I am of you, of how good you have become as an individual person in your career, and the things you've done, because if you've done it on your own. And through that's not something you tell somebody. That is something you show somebody. And a lot of the times, I have told you as well that you don't have to show anybody anything. You just have to show yourself. And you have to bring yourself into it. And the perseverance that you've had thus far is something you don't teach. It's just something you show. And so in a friendship, and we talked about this before too, is what value they may be potentially bringing into your life. And we've talked about, what about this person? What about that person? And you get to an understanding of like, yeah, maybe they're not really doing anything in my life. They might be bringing bad influences in my life, and I might need to change that. But you've been bringing some pretty good energy and some pretty good influences into many things. In that perseverance of getting yourself out of a deep, dark place in your perseverance, in your own way. that's something, as I say, you don't teach. So that's something that's highly respectable. I can tell you that, as you were during COVID time, as you were venturing in your Subaru, right? As you're going in through all of these different treks of life, right? Literal treks of life. Though you're climbing a mountain or you're going into a valley or you're going through a canyon, you have been battling your life. And and I know you've reflected on this before, if you think about those portraits that you've taken on these amazing places, that is your perseverance in itself. You are atop of that mountain. You are at the bottom of that pit. You're in between the canyon, whatever it is. That has been your perseverance. That you hadn't let anything stop you up until that point. And it's just, you're able to capture those things too. And just like that picture you kind of showed before we started, I'm able to see myself and revisit myself of who I was then. As you go through the portraits that you have of yourself in these places, you are easily able to identify who you were at that point. And then reflect on who you are now.
Yeah, well, it always seems like very contrasted every time I compare just a year at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's a good answer.
Yeah, you've gone through many things, man.
Yeah, I know.
To go from a guy that was eating frozen burritos, Hot Pockets, in deep literal dark shit. Just face it that way, man. And to who you are now, dude, that's something that magnifies you as a person. And it's highly respectable.
Vanessa and I were talking about that just the other day. I told her that I found some old footage of my place, my grandma's growing up.
Yeah.
And not to put any shame, but just the condition of the place and stuff like that. It's I mean, I ate on my bed all the time.
Yeah. I
ate in my room all the time. It's just not a good place.
Well,
for sure.
And this is, how much I love you and appreciate you too, right? But I remember when you had invited me to your place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt uncomfortable.
Dang, yeah.
Like, not because I was in a place that wasn't my own.
Sure.
But the environment, right? It was kind of dingy. It was definitely smelly. And then I remember when I first saw your kitchen and the literal mess that there was with all the cats and stuff like that.
That's the disgust that I talked with my girlfriend just the other day. I'm like, that was normal. And she even asked me back then, did you feel uncomfortable back then? I was like, no. And that's where it's like, because I was so in it that it just wasn't a big deal. Sure. And it was only you, Avery, and maybe like one or two other people that ever came over. But I was never proud of the place I grew up in by any means. It was not a healthy environment, period.
Yeah.
Period.
Can I also be a little bit more raw with you? As to, in the beginning stages of our friendship here, that once you graduated and everything, there were some of those limitations that now you were no longer, for example, a student or even a minor at that, right? Where the friendship can definitely now flourish at adult level per se. That I had a fine distinction there too. Is like, well, you're no longer part of my team. Right. I can easily say, well, nice to see you. Right. You could be cordial, but I think in the very beginning of things that I distinguished. Yeah, I distinguished how many people had left you. And I don't want to be another when you knew you wanted to come back. So I don't want to be another person, just give you the shoulder or just leave. And you had mentioned, Michael had disappeared and he went on his own journey. And you had been on your very much your own journey for your entire life where people just left you and you were just kind of left to figure it out. I didn't want to be another person to do that. So at first I wouldn't say I was doing that out of pity. Sure. But I was doing it at an essence of like, he doesn't need another person, just leave like that. Yeah, that's something I always admire is I felt like you never gave up on me. I didn't. And
it felt like it was. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Thought I was going somewhere with that, but I appreciate you sticking around.
Hey, man, that's what friends are. That's what real friends are for, man. 100%. And there's very few. My dad always told me this, that good friends in life, you can count them in one hand. And, you know, I've been blessed to have known many people, as you have too, right? I've been blessed to know many people, and a lot of people too I've had to just kind of let go. But, you know, good friends that can be counted on, and yeah, I can get to count on them in just one hand. That if I called and I picked up that phone,
Yeah.
that person would be there. So, yeah, friendships are beautiful.
And I think that's another reason why you started the men's group, which is something I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think you necessarily handpicked. I don't know what your process was when you were starting the idea, but I feel like you picked a damn good group of guys. That's for sure.
I mean, that group also has gone through its journey, right? I there are days where I'm just like, crap, man, this group could do so much now that we don't have the limitations of not doing stuff. Because this group, the men's group, right, we started up right in the beginnings of COVID.
April 2020.
2020,
Yeah.
right? The very beginnings of COVID. So I remember building this because there was a cry out from a lot of these friends, right? You included, of the necessity of a group to meet together and to grow together. And I had this conflict as to what we wanted this group to be. Did we want this group just to be a social group? Did we want this group to be just a religious group, right? So we removed all of those things and simply say, regardless of where we are in the faith, in the walk of faith or what have you, we're just going to invite to be together and still be able to pray together, help each other grow, sharing knowledge to one another. And there was a good, solid time when we were doing that.
Yeah,
We
consistently.
were praying. Yeah,
weekly.
we were praying.
Yeah.
We were gathering together. We were sharing how our lives were going, how our family was going. And then a large part of it, too, was we were teaching something to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we were delegating things like, hey, next week, who wants to lead the topic discussion and what have you? And there was some really great ones in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you asked, like, if I handpicked, I think it was just one of those things where it was the individuals that were asking for something more. Where I said, well, let me galvanize this group of people, right? We had some come, some go. We had some that literally didn't participate in many things, and we had some that were consistently there every single week. And I think we were trying to discover also as a group what we wanted that group to be in our lives. And for some, it was more than others. And when you have that disparity of like what values you want to bring, then that's hard to really come to one thing. And yeah, it was one of those things where it's like owned by all, and it was hard. It was difficult.
Yeah. I learned a lot from it though. That's for sure.
It was good times.
Yeah.
I still have some of the chats and stuff like that. And I look back at some of the pictures that we shared and some of the video that we shared and stuff like that. And yeah, man, there's some really good memories in there. Because it also it helped us cope through COVID.
Yeah, no, definitely. I looked forward to every meeting. But the groups, although it's fizzled out in its own way, it's not dead. I mean,
It isn't
which
dead.
is pretty cool.
We met on Sunday.
Right, we met on Sunday, so I don't know. And that's why I've been kind of pushing to kind of bring it back, even if it's just prayer sessions on over Zoom or something. Just 30 minutes or an hour at the most, but because I know there's a lot of potential in that group for sure.
There is a lot of potential.
It's still untapped potential.
There's a lot of potential, and I think there is even more potential now than it was before. And the reason why I say that is because we now can meet in confidence in person. So if we wanted to do like a prayer session, to go to a church, to go to a chapel or something, then we can easily do that. It's prioritizing the time. And that's been a very big thing that I've been kind of teaching others for a long time. You cannot make time, you can only prioritize it.
True. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear a lot of people say it's like, oh, I don't have time for that. It's like, no.
Yeah.
There is time. You just didn't prioritize it.
Yeah. I wish I had a group like that in my younger 20s. That would have been, I mean, maybe it wouldn't have been in the right headspace to be part of it for sure, but, you know, it would have been nice just to hear some little words of wisdom.
Okay, so maybe. Okay.
Maybe, right? Because I don't know, I probably wouldn't be accepting of it. But
the same concept as to our conversation around the age of these ultra marathon runners and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The maturation that must happen in order for you to succeed and be good and effective on it has to take time. So when you say things like, I wish I would have had it when I was younger, maybe it still wouldn't have brought value because that maturation isn't there.
Yeah.
So maybe the exposure would be nice.
Sure. Yeah.
But it'll be a maturation process in order for it to really gain value, per se.
Yeah, I do remember at one point in the men's group, it was getting a little strained. And you kept circling back to me with this sort of resounding, is this bringing you value or what value is this bringing to you? Because I was in the mindset of we need more consistent participation. And looking back at it now, all that, because I feel like you and I went toe to toe, you know, a couple times in those meetings. Just looking back at it, it's like, man, what was the point of all that? What was the point of just like, I don't know, trying to just being so frustrated about it? I remember being very frustrated during those times. And that was just within a year. It was still less than a year of moving out from my grandma's place. So one thing that my ex and I kind of agreed on at the time was it felt like I had just come home from war. And I had a lot of PTSD, I had a lot of night terrors.
Wow.
It was bad. She confirmed that over like the 3-ish years of living together there in Glendora, that it only improved. But those first few months of like living together, it was just, I was a mess. I was still a mess.
Wow.
I carried a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Whenever she would slam a door, it would
Trigger
give my
you.
body chills. It would induce an uncontrollable full body chill. When you feel like nervous about something, it would do it every time.
Wow.
Yeah, it would get the whole full body chills. Weird. A lot of triggers would happen. Now, if anyone slams the door, it's like, can you not do that again, please? But
it's the internal chill.
Yeah, but there was a lot of that for sure, and I think some of my friendships suffered from that too during that time. And I was at war with my grandma as well for other reasons, but it was darker times. And I feel like that kind of showed in the men's group. I was angry that first year, was very angry. I lashed out at Avery, just yelling at him. And we talk about that from time to time, but he never held it against me or, you know, weighed the friendship on that. But looking back at it, it's just like, man, I was still I was unhinged. I was just like volatile still without even realizing it. So just to kind of reflect on where I'm at now and like just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting silly here, but just imagine you coming over to my grandma's place when I'm younger and you could tell the future and you tell me someday you're going to be all right. You know, you're going to be going to Africa leading a worship.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? And I'd be like, me? You know what I mean? Like, I'd be, it's that maturity thing too. I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't believe in God. I don't believe in worship.
You never even get to it.
Yeah. It's wild to just, to kind of think about that. So I don't know. Whenever I hang out with you, it's always a layer of nostalgia that blankets the hangouts too. So from City and Color to the Midnight, your favorite band, right? The Midnight's your favorite. Yeah. They're pretty great, huh?
They are.
Yeah.
They're just a studio band, okay?
Yeah. If you're hearing this, guys, the guys suck when you perform live, okay?
Come on, guys, get it together.
Sound check. But City and Color, the first few times when you were coaching, you would bring in the guitar and you showed me City and Color, Like Knives and other songs like that. So, and then we got to see City and Color recently for the first time in November, whenever. Yeah, that was cool. that was like a full circle moment for me for the friendship too, which was
Sure.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of history. We coached together too.
We did
Which,
coach for a bit.
if I'm being honest, I had no means of being a coach at that time. I remember the one time it was you and me on the field
Oh man.
running. And
Yeah.
dude, I was like ready to throw up. I mean, I was not, yeah, I do that. I could do circles today, you know, but at that time, I appreciate you pushing me, but that was not my time. That was not my time, dude.
Because you said you
So-
wanted to.
Yeah. Like, if you and I coach now, dude, I'd be all in. It'd be
Yeah.
like, not military style, but the way we were kind of running things that last little bout around coaching, because I feel like we kind of did a couple bouts of coaching.
We did.
Where you really stepped it up and you kind of borderline military, but in a healthy, cool way. Like,
Yeah,
it was just
yeah.
very structured. I shouldn't
Yeah.
say military. It was very structured in a good
Right.
way compared to, previous experiences there. But the structure was really cool, and I felt like I was more engaged that time around. But now, if we did it, it'd be a totally different thing. But could not run.
You know what? It sucks because we were getting that team ready and we never.
That's right, wasn't it? It never
Like,
happened.
the
I forgot
season
what
was,
happened.
like,
Was it
canceled.
COVID related?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
just
COVID
season was
related.
canceled.
That's true. Wasn't that the last time we coached?
Yeah.
So the last time we were coaching, we
were-
did it right. It felt like we were gonna go 100%, and then it was like, nope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
that's right.
Like it felt like the opportunity would just like the rug was just pulled right under us, man.
That's a great point.
And I felt like we were getting them real ready, and then all of a sudden, sorry,
Yeah.
season's not happening. I'm like, bro,
Yeah, I remember that.
and then we never got a call back.
That's true. I'm still waiting on that call. Yeah.
And then homegirl got an award. I can't believe it.
No, dude, he sent me that. I was like, there's an award for that? That's shocking. Yeah.
Neither here nor there, but
No, yeah.
but here we are. Here we are, man.
So you're not coaching right now, but you are coaching in faith in a way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Tell the people what you do.
so I do many things, right? So I am a youth minister for my local church, right? Our Lady of the Assumption in Claremont. And yeah, you can call it coaching. I'm definitely mentoring. I'm definitely, walking these journeys of faith with these teens, right? I felt like throughout my adulthood, it's been teens and the youth that really have brought me like this sense of energy, right? Of hope, of a sense of being. And I don't know, like I can clearly see, when things are changing, and it's simply due to the exposure to these teens, right? And so recently in 2022, I got the opportunity to be the youth minister to this parish, and it was a lot on my plate. I was ready to be a father of two. I was in my PhD. I had my full-time job, and then of course I had this home that I have to learn how to sustain, right? And to then have now an opportunity to be a youth minister, a lot of people are just like, dude, you're crazy. And a lot of people try to steer me away from it because it was a lot of new, right? New fatherhood, new marriage, new house, and having something else distract, quote unquote, that process would not be good.
Detrimental.
Yeah. But my wife and I have been together for a long time.
Well, you did the math, I guess, already. So
this June, we will be married for 4 years.
okay, a marriage, yeah.
Yeah, married for 4 years. But prior to that, we were together almost 10. So I known her. We've been together since 2010. So it's coming up on 14 years. Yeah, but because we've known each other for a long time, and she knows my aspirations, she knows the things I love to do, I couldn't make this decision without really having a discussion with her. And she said, look, God has presented you this 3 times, because it was about the 3rd time that this opportunity had came to me, and I just didn't know how to answer it. So then she said, God has presented this to you for a couple times already, and I think it's just meant for you. And so with that, I got the thumbs up, the green light per se, to give it a shot. And since then, it hasn't been easy, but it's been easier because I do have her support.
Yeah, I'm sure
Right.
that's
Because it is demanding.
Yeah.
You know, being with the teens and investing time in them to really grow and to do that. But it's really rewarding to see all these teens, just like in our sports years too, to see those that graduate to come back and want to help and want to serve and want to
yeah.
do all of that. So we see that. I see that immediately, right? There's teens that go through the programs, the youth ministry program, and they come back. They want to help me. They want to help mentor the other teens and go through the whole retreat stuff, and that's good. That's awesome. So it's just building a network of more things, right? And a lot of people will get to, who know who I am, and I get cool opportunities that I didn't even know I wanted to do. So when I rediscovered my faith and in helping Life Teen and being with the youth, I also rediscovered my musicality, right? Because I had been playing music for a long time, and I kind of had let that go. After I graduated high school, I wasn't playing music at all. Where I thought I was a decent musician. I played jazz for a long time.
That's right. You were in jazz.
I was a jazz band for a long time. I was a really good saxophone player for a long time.
Can you still play sax?
I'm sure if I picked it up, it's just going to be one of those things of like
Natural, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in jazz band. Sorry.
Yeah. So but when I graduated, because I didn't have my own instrument, it was just like that skill is just kind of died there. But I was playing guitar. But similarly, it kind of died too, right? I wasn't playing any of it. And so when I went back to the church, started serving, one large thing that really spoke to me through that resurgence of my faith was music. And at that point, it was praise and worship music and all of that, right? And at that time when we went to St. John's, Mr. Anthony Cerna, an amazing musician, he had a voice that is uncomparable, just raw talent, just absolutely raw talent. And if you talk to him, he's the most humble guy. He's going to be like, no, and like with no struggle, no nothing. If you hear his voice clean, warm, soft.
Yeah, it's like a radio voice.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's just, I'll show you after. But when it's live and you hear the genuinity of his praise and everything, it really spoke to me. So through that is where I said, I need to pick up my guitar and do this. And that's where my music ministry started. And I started getting a bunch of opportunities to do that, which gave me another identity too, of being able to lead worship and sing and to bring other people to praise too.
Would you say that worship and praise and all that brought you the closest to God?
No. It was part of it.
Yeah.
It was part of it. It was the way that I was able to best express my faith, if that makes sense. But it wasn't the one thing that brought me closer to him.
I have noticed a pattern with genuine sound. You just mentioned like when he sings.
Yeah.
That's the same for City and Color, for
Effortless.
Paper Kites.
Effortless.
It's that effortless. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
And when somebody like you and I are musically inclined, you can acknowledge it and you can hear it quite clearly.
Yeah.
Right? Like the first time you heard Corey Asbury.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to mention that too. Because that was 2018, I think.
Yeah. When I introduced you to
It was at we did a San Diego day trip, wasn't it?
something like it was a trip. It was a drive for sure.
Just a drive, yeah. I don't know what we did out there.
Was it
we
San
just
Diego?
hung out. Yeah. Because
It was okay. So it was San Diego.
Yeah.
You, I wouldn't say you dragged me out. Okay, you invited me, and I was just like, sure.
Yeah.
But you wanted to go there because you needed to get final shots for an event or something you were doing.
Yeah. Wow, I don't remember that, but
because
right.
you had your drone, and I flew the drone for the first time.
Yeah.
We went to the Seaport Village,
right.
where you parked, and you're just like, "Do you want to go with me?"
That's right.
And I said, "No, man, I'm just gonna chill in the car." And then you left for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, hotel footage. Yeah,
I don't know what it was.
It was, yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. I thought that trip was just to hang out. Clearly, it's a work trip. Okay.
It was no. You did tell me it was a work trip. You needed to go do some shots, but as we're there, we can go venture off and do other things too.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's when you showed me Corey Asbury.
Yeah.
We're at that big park place, and you played it. And I was like, damn, that guy sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to see him live just
Yeah.
a couple years later, and that was amazing.
And that was also a vivid thing too, because you had FaceTime me or video called me, and I was in a retreat. I was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I was on a retreat. You video called me, and I could not pick up. When I called you again, you said, I literally had Corey next to me, ready to say hi to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
I showed up and I snuck in. Little fun fact about me, I like to bring cameras to concerts
And then get VIP passes.
Yeah, and I get VIP passes basically. Get to kind of float around and go wherever I want. But for that concert, it was in Monterey Bay, and I drove up there, and that was the first time I ever gone overlanding. That was my first adventure trip.
Yeah.
I paired it together.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
But you made it an intention to go to that because you know he was there.
And that was the first time I ever like camped out in my car the night before. It was pouring rain. First time I drove a car off road, and I was not okay.
Yeah,
it was
you weren't
pretty
okay.
terrifying. Yeah. So I snuck. It was like a fairgrounds. I just kind of walked up to security guard. I had my cameras on me. He's like, "Oh, you're good to go." I'm like, "Of course I am." So then I walked in, and he was right there with Phil Wickham and everyone else. So
Yeah.
it was wild. But that night, I was probably the only non-religious person in that crowd. I mean, I can't say that for sure, right?
Sure.
But boy, did I feel like, out of place.
Oh.
But I still felt it for sure.
Sure.
And the reason why I had messaged you just a few months back when you said, "Hey, I have some Corey tickets up for grabs," I said, "Wow, the timing on this is insane."
Yeah.
Because that day I was asked to lead worship for the Africa trip.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was like literally that same day. I'm like, wow, this is
Cool.
this is a trip.
But then it kind of turned where it was just like, you didn't miss much because
Yeah, it sucked. I'm sorry. It wasn't the best because I guess I went into it thinking it was it was the experience I had before, and the experience I had before was worship. It was prayer. It was deep, but this was pop fun. It was great. It was a great energy. It was fun. I guess I had an expectation.
Sure.
But
no, I think your advice after that was just like, no, we have to go to one where it's just him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Or him and one other, but it's very clear it's like just him.
So a couple months ago, last year, I guess at this point, Gabby and I went to Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake.
Brandon Lake, I have been Gratitude. How was Gratitude when you played Gratitude? That's probably one of my favorite worship
amazing
songs. Yeah, that's probably my favorite worship song.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
And so we went to see Phil Wickham and Brandon Lake, and that was great, man. There was a point in time in that concert where it was just them two with two acoustic guitars.
Yep, that's what I was looking for.
Candle lit type of background. And they just played a medley of like their hits, right? And they just went back and forth. Yeah. Like Phil would play Brandon's songs and Brandon would play Phil
That's why
Wickham's
I saw some of those videos on YouTube where he was singing his songs. So it must have been around the same time. That makes sense.
And I think they played like 8-9 songs or something. And they're just medleys, right? So they play like a minute of each song. Yeah. And I just was just like, play the whole thing. Yeah. Could you play the whole thing, please? Yeah. But it was an amazing time. We took our baby, Sarai. We took her with us. And she was awake the entire time. But it played against us because then she was super wired and she didn't want to go to sleep. It was bad. Yeah. I think it was at 1 a.m. where she finally fell asleep.
Babies and concerts.
No, man.
My friend Harry, the one that was on the podcast recently, we went to see the Paper Kites in San Diego, and he unfortunately had to bring the baby. Yeah. I think he was only 6 months or 7 months.
Yeah.
Big old headphones.
Yep.
And they had to make the call because it was his bedtime when the concert started. So he only got to see like one song and then he left. Dude. I was like,
how was that concert though?
Amazing. It's like copy and paste experience. Really. Good. Like it doesn't, because we had saw them live a year and a half or so ago. And that was unreal. So I thought going into the next one would be try not to have any expectations, but it sounded like, it almost sounded fake. Like they're just playing recordings because it sounded
so
like
good.
They're
good live.
Perfect. Yeah.
I would really have loved to see them out in what's that place, Pioneer Town or
whatever? Oh yeah, that was the one to see for sure. I saw a video on that. It looked like a great time for you Paper Kite fans. Anyone out there?
Anyone out there?
They did mess up one time, and Vanessa didn't believe me. It was like they did mess up because I was singing the lyrics when he was supposed to be singing, and then he jumped in like 2 lines later. I was like, your God can bleed. You're not perfect.
So it's not a playback soundtrack.
No, definitely not. But it was funny because like he caught himself, and you can see the smirk on his face, like, oh, damn, I messed up. But they had Bella White opening. I don't know if you ever heard.
Yeah,
of
I've
her.
heard Bella White.
She's pretty great.
Yeah.
She did, like the Hunger Games music and stuff too. But she was spot on. Good too.
This is gonna be a big sidebar, man.
That's fine.
But so when you say like they were perfect and what have you, there is a lot of like your process now. There's so much to learn, and there's so much support that is necessary for a large production like that to be successful. So when you think about how great they are live now, it's really humbling to think about like how was their first show.
Oh yeah, it's got to be a recording somewhere.
They're
raw.
And I'm sure they have it, right? And the reason why this is a big sidebar is because in a book I read, Outliers, the author talks about the journey that the Beatles needed to go through in order for them to become the Beatles. And the only way that they were able to be successful was because of the continuous opportunities of playing live music in a bar.
Oh, and that's what the Paper Kites kind of did with their last album too.
They continuously went from bar to bar to bar to bar and to bar to bar. Simply like getting the process of setting up sound, getting the production ready to go. Mind you, of course, music was much more simpler then.
Sure.
However, it was that continuous practice and consistency that when they got that right opportunity at that right time to perform live in front of a significantly bigger crowd, then that is what made them successful.
That's crazy.
But if it hadn't happened for all of those bar hopping things that they needed to do, it would have never been successful.
That kind of reminds me of, I think you read it from a book. It's like 2020, 2021. I remember I was sitting in the kitchen. You told me this mindset or whatever it is. Just because you're putting in like the work to change yourself better by 1% every day, you don't see the progress until a certain point.
That's right.
And you use the ice cube.
Yeah.
Not Ice Cube, the rapper, but Ice Cube. An ice cube.
An ice cube.
That, you know, when it's before 32 degrees, you can keep turning up the heat, but the ice cube, the state won't change until a certain point.
That's right.
And I've always kind of kept that in the back of my mind about stuff, especially like with the marathon training I was doing and other stuff.
Yes.
That's where it was working. So I was like, I know I'm not feeling good today, and I know I didn't have the best mile time today training on a Tuesday, but I showed up and I put the work in, and you know, I was able to beat the marathon, but not best time, but I was able to do it, and that was the win there for me, for sure.
Yeah. When we go upon things, right, it's that mindset of just getting 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
The goal will be inevitable. It's just if you focus on just that 1% improvement, then you'll get to that end result no matter what.
You think you're still doing 1% a day?
On certain things, right?
Because it's hard to do it all. Check all your
100%.
boxes in one day.
No, it's so another great book. It's called Atomic Habits.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Right?
Yeah, I've seen
and
that one.
Atomic Habits really breaks out the sense of this 1% of don't focus on the goal, because the goal can be large, but focus on those little habits, those little incremental things that'll get you to that end result. For example, you just said showed up today, right? In the book, it says if you want to become more consistent in working out, running, whatever it is, then the habit must be in the beginning of things, which will be the second you put those shoes on,
I was gonna say, yeah,
you're out of the door.
yeah.
And there's nothing literally else other than just put shoes on. That you know, in the moment that you put those shoes on, you must be out the door. And that's just a little habit, right? And you could do those little things every single day. So in my life, you know, it's a less of a physical thing. There was one point in my life where I was really good, right, about all that. But my priorities have shifted a lot, right? So the 1% nowadays, or the little habits, are on fatherhood, are on becoming a good husband, right? Being a good supporter and things like that.
So like those core values you talked about when you had to have that discussion with Gabby about taking on another thing, because
That's right.
those three,
They were going to be impacted.
yeah.
Right.
So now that you feel like you're completing your doctorate, right?
Done.
I heard at the men's group hangout that you got the scores back. Was it right then and there when you were chilling there? You got the scores back.
I got an approval for something,
Yeah.
but just this last week I sit in my final and I'm done.
So you feel like now that maybe some of those things are just opening up more time for you.
Yeah,
be more-
definitely. So the last final thing on my doctorate, right, is final presentation on the 15th of May. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And that's just formality at that point. But once I do that, then I'm done 100%. So that,
Exciting.
yeah, that's just literally 2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah.
And so I can see that finish line 100%. And then in my youth ministry side, I mean, that's always a consistent thing. But we're getting ready for the closeout of confirmation year within our program. So that's May 20th.
Oh, I'm busy that day.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Capturing it, but yeah.
So 15th presentation, the 20th is the mass. So then definitely
Feels like a new season's gonna start. You know what
summer
I mean?
season,
yeah,
baby.
Summer, yeah.
Summer season.
Yeah.
My birthday's coming up, right? Celebrating my PhD.
Yeah.
And this will be our first summer back at home. I don't know. No. Because we had that whole thing with our house, and no, this will be our second year back after reconstruction. But now with our babies being a little older, so pool days are going to be longer.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun, man.
And gym sessions are going to be longer too, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, because you got to keep that in check.
I got to, so
balance.
now that I have like
Balance.
a little of this prioritization being, the bandwidth coming off my PhD, then there could potentially be, a resurgence of my physical being. Because I was really good at one point. I was running a lot at one point. And I was doing some pretty cool things. And it was in that headspace when I was running that was awesome, man.
And now you're going to sign up for an adventure race, right? 300 kilometers, 1 week.
Man, that's intense, dude. Maybe I could start again with just doing like the 5 and 10Ks.
Yeah.
And then just incrementally building it up. Cycling again, I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been doing that daily, which has been nice.
And then potentially get to another sprint triathlon for sure.
Yeah. I got to do my first triathlon. You've done how many? 4?
4. Yeah. And I've done 2. 2 of them have been in really cool places. Went to Williamsburg, Virginia. A colonial town out there in Virginia. It's really cool.
Cool.
And then I did one in Weatherford, Texas, which is really cool. I want to go visit my cousin out there too. It was nice. It was a really good experience.
What is it that kept drawing you back to sign up to another one? What was it that made you click buy on the next tickets?
Yeah, I think it was just that sense of like perseverance. I think it's just that sense of perseverance of like, I know I can do this and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. Every single one I felt unprepared. Right. But I did it. I finished it. And the one I did last year at Weatherford, Texas, in last April, that one was by far the worst, where I did feel like I was like the worst unpreparedness of as possible. And the reason why was because my transitions were totally bad. When I finished the race, right? So you finish on a run. It was a 5K run. So it was 3.1 some miles. When I finished that run, I had cramps in both my quads and
Just Bambi legs.
oh, not even Bambi. They were stiff.
Oh, just
So stiff. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to drop dead.
Yeah.
But the really cool thing about all of this was that I can hear my baby in the background. She was cheering me on. And my cousin and his wife showed up too.
Like in spirit, or you actually physically heard them?
No, they were there.
Oh.
I heard them. Because so as you go through this triathlon journey, to get you to your transitional, there's people around. There's observers around.
Is the transition like a figure 8 where you come back into the same transition point and that's why they're all there, or it's multiple?
Yeah. So there is the same transition point.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So you transition twice, right? So once out from swim to bike, and then from bike to run.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same place. You come back
Right.
full circle
Gotcha.
on that place. And the finish line is
Right there next to the trail.
by that.
Oh,
too.
that's cool. That's convenient.
Because then you have all your stuff there.
That's why your family's there.
That's why they
cool.
were there. Yeah.
Oh,
And there's a
okay.
bunch of different observers.
That's different from the marathon because
There's a lot of different observers, right? And the community is amazing.
yeah.
Because everyone's cheering you on, just like the marathon, right? There people are just like, go, go,
There
go.
were so many people along the path. There was hundreds of food stations. Is it like it's not like that for a triathlon, but is there
No.
people that there's like water stations
Yeah,
throughout?
there is.
Yeah, for the marathon it was just people that weren't even paid by the association that were just there handing out water bottles and stuff. So it's crazy. A lot of people.
Yeah. So, you get this sense of motivation of people telling you could do this, keep going.
Yeah. That's
And then you hear some people saying, it's all right, man. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's just about finishing. It's about finishing. And
yeah.
and it's just those small little things that are just like, yeah, let's do it. But for me, of course, I heard my baby, and
Yeah,
she was just
that's
like,
cool.
go, Papa, go.
Yeah.
And,
That's all you
just
need
like,
almost.
dude,
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
That is it. Completely it. And it just,
All there.
and it's just on repeat. I'm doing it for her, right?
Yeah.
Doing it for my babies. And not in the sense of like showing off, but in the
Sure.
sense of just like, maybe one day it'll be this teaching thing that if Papa can do it, then
Yeah.
I can too.
Yeah. I think that's important.
You know?
Super important. Yeah.
So, it's those little things.
Well, I'll be honest. During the last few miles of the marathon, I was genuinely annoyed and angry at all the people. Like, you can do it. And I'm like, are you running this thing?
Shut up.
Like, yeah, I was getting a little irritated. It's just like,
Hey, man,
I
but
don't
you
want to
did
hear
it.
it. You know? Yeah.
You did it. I literally saw a video a couple days ago of this guy running a marathon. I don't know where he was, but it's amazing how these experienced marathon runners and their routine while they're running. So he went through station after station, and he says mile 1, mile 5, mile whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said first jelly pack, second jelly pack. Here's a banana. Here's an orange.
Right.
Here's a beer.
Yeah.
And here's a donut. And
Yeah.
here's a pizza. I'm like, bro, you're
Yeah.
eating and running at the same
Yeah.
time. It's because of all of these calories that you're burning while you're going through it.
but there was someone doing chili cheese dogs.
Bro.
Full size chili cheese dogs.
Yes.
But you take one bite and there was chili cheese dogs all over the path.
But
It
I
was
know,
bad.
but they know this.
Right. Yeah. So
It's
Stepped on one.
it's really that food for energy.
no, yeah, there's a lot of good choices. My
A lot of good choices.
there was, but my
It was just in about double that was just
that sounds amazing.
Right?
I regret on the 24th mile, I was craving a Coke. I'm like, as soon as this race is over, I'm gonna drink a Coke. That's all I was craving for some reason. And I don't drink soda.
It's 'cause
I
it's
haven't drank
sugar.
soda. Yeah, it's just the sugar, huh?
Yeah.
But boy, I wanted a Mexican glass Coke. Like,
it's the
classic.
sugar.
And I caved because for the entire race, all the way up to mile 24, there was no Coke. But the second I was getting close and really craving it, someone had a little mini Coke.
The mini Cokes.
Maybe it's that theory where if you look for red cars, you'll see red cars all
Yep.
the time. So I started thinking heavily on the Coke. It was there. I took one swig and that was a mistake. Just the carbonation of it just like upset my stomach and
Oh no.
I had to throw it out. But yeah, a lot of experiences on that for sure. Some guys hang out with shots of alcohol. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, but that's just gonna dehydrate you like 5 minutes later. But
Yeah.
yeah,
This guy, the same video that I saw, I think he chugged like 4 or 5 different beers. Or
yeah.
something.
But there's carbs and stuff.
I suppose.
Nutrients. It's all
Dude, I don't know.
healthy.
I don't know. Right? I haven't ran a marathon. I don't know.
Would you ever do one?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I just get into this headspace where it's just like I just have to be semi-prepared for it.
Sure.
Right? I
Yeah.
can't. You can't tell me to go now.
Sure.
It's not gonna be good. I mean, people say it's like, dude, just walk some of it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't expect to run the entire thing, but I would at the very least love to be at a position where I can run the most I can.
What percentage would you think you'd want to run a consistent jog?
I would probably say at least if I can run like 15 miles out of it.
Okay. Yeah. So I asked ChatGPT because that first day after the marathon, I was sulking of my time. And every day after, I was like, screw that. I completed it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I had a goal set of 5 hours, under 5,
Cool.
which based on my training could have been doable. And I thought the energy of the event was going to be even more motivating and pick my speed up, but wasn't the case. So I asked ChatGPT to do some crazy numbers and stuff, and it basically came out to I jogged 66% of it, and I power walked 33% of it. So not bad, not horrible. But wish I just jogged the whole thing. But yeah,
It's still good, man. You
that was
completed
good.
it.
I really want to do a triathlon, as you know, I'm a swimmer. So, and I like to cycle, so that one just seems more up my alley because I hate running. I only did that because I hated it. That was it. That was
Amen.
that and self-love. I hate running,
And
and you know how much I hate running. You've seen it. I mean, that dude ran a marathon years later, but yeah, I hate running. I still hate it. That's what David Goggins says too.
Oh, yeah.
He hates running, right? I mean, you probably read more on him than I have, but he hates it, right? He does it. Forgot why the real reason behind it, but yeah, just doing something hard, right?
Staying hard.
Stay hard. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's check the time here. Hour and 10. Not bad. Cameras are all still rolling smoothly, which I'm very happy about. Lighting looks good too. Anything else you want to touch on?
Whatever you want, man.
In this moment, it doesn't feel like I'm podcasting, but I'm going to regret this because this is actually being recorded because I'm like, oh man. It does feel like a more natural conversation for sure compared to previous experiences, but yeah. I don't know what else to talk about. Kind of blanked out.
Then you know where you cut it off then.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? Well, thanks for being one of the founding fathers of the podcast.
Appreciate that, man. This is cool.
I definitely wanted to be like top 5, if not top 10, but I'm glad you're in the top 5 for sure.
I appreciate that.
And thanks for following through too. So
yeah, sorry, I rescheduled
no,
this because
all good, all good. I actually do want to show you something real quick.
yeah.
Habit tracker. Remember how I used to do habit trackers back in 2020? Well, I've gone all out with them.
The exercises that we've done.
Yes. So I've
Wow, look at this.
I've kind of gone all out with it.
Yeah.
I started in December. On December 20th, I've been tracking all my habits from journaling to electrolyte water to healthy eating, fitness. It was pretty weak in the beginning, but I've been tracking mood, weekly habits, Squires Productions. A friend of mine named Marcus, which you'll meet at my birthday party. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, coming up. We've been doing this together up until about March, and then he got super busy, bought his second house, and he's expecting a second child. So it was a lot for him to keep up with this, but I was doing this pretty much I've been doing it every month. So I've been tracking all the data, and I'm realizing just like when you say the prioritizing time, you can't make time, you can only prioritize it.
Yep.
This has opened up my eyes to so much about myself that I got Vanessa on it too. So we do it together. We check in almost every night about it. But that's been super helpful. And realizing that trying to not like check off everything in your boxes every day is almost impossible. It's crazy. Like if you try to do everything you need to do in a day, to me, it seems like it's impossible. I don't know about you, but it's pretty exhausting to be an adult. A productive adult, I should say.
Yeah.
There's not enough time.
There's plenty to do, right? As a father,
Sure.
as a homeowner, just period as a homeowner.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much to do, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes through this ebb and flow of like tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you could easily get to a point where you're just like, forget it. I'm not doing it today.
Yeah.
And it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just a matter of showing up the next day and the day after, and then it changes, man.
I think it was Kobe Bryant that said that. He said something like, it was Kobe or someone else, but basically the process of change and being like a better person, there's a remedy to that, but it only works once a day, and it resets at the end of each day, and you got to do it again the next day.
Yeah.
And that's the remedy. It'll work, but you just have to do it every day. You
Yeah.
have to just do the stuff that you need to do or grow in. And so I think this is actually the first official episode with the official name change of The Reasons We Rise. So I might leave you with one last question. Might be cheesy, but I guess I'm asking you, what is the reason you rise? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What gets you when you're having a bad day or whatever? What gets you back up? What is one thing that brings you back up?
It's definitely
because life is an ebb and flow.
No, it's definitely my babies. Yeah, 100%. It's definitely my babies. My wife and I would do anything for them. And my parents told me this throughout my entire life, that you will not understand until you have your own.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that could not make any more sense now. We absolutely would do anything for our babies, right? And these last few weeks that have been tough, 100% tough, right? My wife, going through miscarriage, the retreat not going so well. I had bronchitis last week, and just having the mental, as I mentioned, defeat of like I just wasn't good enough, right? And just coming to that realization that God wasn't present in these many things that we want to do. So when you talk about tasks and the things you have to do, I challenge you that one of those things is pray, and that you invite God into that space, because you need to have God with you at all those instances, right? So what makes me rise again, without a doubt, it is my babies, and becoming a better father to them is really what it's been the motivator for me. So how can I become a better man for them tomorrow or today?
I have this little, it was a motivation board in my garage with all my workout stuff when I was training for the marathon, and it just simply says, they deserve the best version of you. And it's the people's closest to me. And it's true. Like, I feel like the people closest to you, they deserve the best version of you.
They do.
If they're still in your life and they're supporting you, whatever, like, why aren't you giving them the best version of yourself?
Yeah. I mean, when you put that, some may say that's a lot of pressure, because you're consistently wanting to become the best person you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be exhausting, right? It could be very exhausting. However, being your better person, also, there's room there to saying, I failed, and acknowledging that when you're sad, and being in tune with those emotions. That not all the time you can be strong, not all the time you can be wise, not all of the time you can be just a person to continuously be that stronghold per se. There is an opportunity there. Your best version will simply be that you're just kind of, what do you call that? Just kind of raw, right? You're just kind of hanging out to dry per se.
Almost just being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And being honest with your feelings, not only with yourself, but
vulnerable
with people.
would be 100%, right? And so being the best version of yourself is still being able to be vulnerable with yourself at that point. So it's not always just being on point and being able to be the strongest person around.
Maybe it's not best version of yourself, but a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
Because best sounds like a perfectionist mindset.
Yeah.
That's why you said the pressure thing.
Yeah.
And I had never looked at it that way. Mm-hmm. But that is actually a lot of pressure.
It is.
It is. So maybe just a better version of yourself.
Yeah. And being better is still going through all of those things too. Because, it does take a lot. My grandmother, rest peace her soul, she had told me that in a partnership, in a marriage, in a whatever, that sometimes we're told that it's 50-50. That you can, you put 50 and your partner puts 50. But she says that rhetoric is wrong. In a relationship, it should just be 100%. That when you can only bring 10, that the other person brings 90. And when that other person can only give you 20, that you're able to give 80. And those things resonate with me till this day, right? In being a good husband, where it's like, okay, my wife is tired. She's exhausted. She's feeling sick. She's grieving. How do I bring 90% of that? Because she can't bring everything. She can't bring 50. She can't bring anything else. So being able to just kind of complete the 100 is also able to do that. So, when you think about this essence of like being better today or whatever, maybe your better is only 10%.
True. No, it's true.
So it's just a lot of different things, that kind of go into it. But as I say, being able to understand where you are, and being able to be vulnerable with yourself and to those things is still good too. For I'd hope that I can teach my baby girls to be vulnerable too, and that a man can express sadness, a man can express failure, a man can express these things, right? That when if God has them in that plan to go look for their spouse one day, that they can look into some of those qualities too and saying, hey, my father did this. And maybe that's something that motivates them to find their own.
It's a legacy, right?
Yeah.
An inspiring legacy, to say the least.
Yeah. But that's really what really brings me my motivation too. And just like the video call that you saw I had in the beginning of it's small, something short, something very quick. But having that simple discussion and conversation, little by little, it'll transform. Little by little, she will tell me things later on that make sense, that she needs help or whatever it is. So,
yeah, that was kind of another reason behind this podcast. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Cough you. Whatever that was. Some of the reason behind this podcast was, like, for instance, the Phoenix as the logo there. When you're mentioning, like, kind of it's hard to be the best version of yourself. It takes a lot of work. It's exhausting or whatever.
Yes.
Right? I heard that in one of Jordan Peterson's speeches of when you need to transform or change into a better person, it's often painful because you need to burn away the parts of you that are toxic. And for some people, that's like 95% of them. Mm-hmm. For some people, it's only 5% of them. Mm-hmm. But at least with the Phoenix, I've always kind of resonated with that, even from childhood too.
Yeah.
Video games, movies, stuff like that, right? But as I'm getting older, I've kind of like looked into like the origin of Phoenix and all that. And to me, it's just a representation of transformation, period. It's burning away the bad parts of you and rising up with just the best parts of you. So for now, that's the reason why I have that as kind of the logo and the theme to all this. So with that being said, your answer is perfect, justified, correct, and on all counts. that is the reason you rise. And I would easily say that, or assume that Gabby would be the second reason behind that, sure.
Yeah.
But what's the third then?
What's the third? Third
reason you rise. Get out of bed. Because, like I said, your answers were correct. I agree.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's almost an easy answer for you. But what would be a reason outside of those two? Those three. Yeah.
That's tough. I never thought about.
Because I guess that's kind of more for you.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if it weren't for them, then it would be for me.
It's almost like, who are you without them?
Yeah. Yeah. Because at this point in time, they are a big part of my identity.
And let me just say something real quick. I journaled this the other day because it's right in line with what I was thinking. I was journaling about Avery. Okay. The other day, he said something about showing up for Vicente something, his son, just doing something. And it's just like, I was hearing him just kind of vent. He was having like a rough day about something, but he's putting in the work as a father. And I didn't tell him this, so he's probably hearing this for the first time here, but just hearing him was like, wow, becoming a father and a committed husband and all the things that he is in that realm of being a family man, it's completely changed him, for sure, to say the least. But I tried to think of how he would be if he didn't have all that family stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Would he be a better version of himself if he didn't have kids, a wife, or any of that? I would disagree because I think all this has just changed him in such a great way, as it should, right? Because you've heard stories of where it doesn't, but that got me thinking of, because I want to be a father someday myself and a husband. I really am in line to wanting that, it's where I want to point my sail or whatever you want to call it. But,
yeah.
So I'm thinking, what version will I be in the future once I reach that point? Looking back at how I am now, looking at Avery, if any of that if family wasn't in the picture, is this making sense?
Yeah.
So is there a version of me out there as a father, as a husband, that's gonna like blow my mind? You know what I mean? As much as me sitting here compared to sitting on my bed at my grandma's house is the transition. Like, what kind of a transition will it look like in a healthy relationship? You know what I mean?
So what have I told you right now? What have I told you right now? That you will be an amazing father and a loving husband that is committed, that will not leave, that will not do mistakes, that will be detrimental to the family. So if I told you that, how do you feel about that?
Or the question is, would I believe you?
Oh, yeah.
Because similar to you saying, going back in time and telling me I'm going to lead a worship thing, like that sounds unbelievable then, right? But me hearing that, it puts sort of, it obviously puts a lot of anxiety at peace of my future. Because I'm told that I will succeed as that, then I wouldn't be so hard on myself on the journey to that, if that makes sense.
And the reason why I tell you that too is because you've had an amazing example in your life of what not to be.
Yeah. I've been told that one too many times.
100%, man. Somebody asked me recently, what are the things that my father taught me? And some of the things that my father taught me, he didn't teach me. I just learned them through the things he did. And, you know, I love my father. My father is still here, and, you know, he's going through his own, you know, health ailments and stuff like that. But he's gone through a lot in his life. And a lot of those things I observed. And as I'm a father today and a husband today, I know how to become better because of the things I learned from him. And so I took the many good things that he taught me, along with the things that he didn't teach me, which were the unnecessary things. So the things that I know for a fact I could avoid. So, matter of fact, just recently, you know, I was talking to my cousin on Friday. We were gonna go have dinner, and I came to this realization that Isela, my oldest, just turned 3, and it was around this time that my father left.
I see.
It was around this time that my father left when I was 3. So to then think about even the idea of leaving them now,
yeah,
it's tough. And to then think about like how a man would do that, it's even tougher to really kind of think about. Seeing them, you know, the happiness that they do bring me, and the energy that is exhausting most of the time. But I would do it every single day. And to then say, no, I'm done with this, I'm leaving, that's tough. And, you know, I came to that just simple sense as like, oh, it was around this time that my dad left. I am nowhere close to that. So I'm already surpassing that journey of life. Because I am absolutely nowhere close to that. Not even a thought. So you will be a loving husband. You will be an amazing father because you've learned what not to be. And invite God into that space too. So I continue telling you that, to pray for the future for yourself. I always tell other young adults that are not married and going through this love journey to pray for your spouse, whoever it may be. Pray for your future wife. Pray for your future husband. You may not know who they are, but our objective as a spouse is to get them to heaven first. So pray for them, whoever it may be. Of course, you have somebody special in your life today. So we're praying that is the person, right? And so pray and just kind of bring that into it. But you will be good if you have faith in that.
let's leave it right there. Sounds like a good full circle, actually. So,
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
This has been cool. Like I said, this is the first time I really feel like this isn't being recorded. So that's cool. That's what I want every podcast to be, at this level of just
Awesome.
talking. So it's been good. Anything you want to tell the people? Anywhere to find you? Your book club? You're gonna now that you have more time on your hands, you're gonna restart that.
Actually, I've been heavily reading the thing. So
What's stopping you from rebooting that?
Nothing is stopping me from rebooting it.
Uh-huh.
So I do have an Instagram that's specific around
Right into that camera.
Reading and just kind of gaining knowledge, and I get an opportunity to also express some of the things I learned and to want to bring out to the world. So the channel is called Spartan Reads Book Club, and I just have a big investment in Greek mythology in a way, right? And the Spartan warrior. So that's kind of where that kind of came from. But you can see some videos there, Spartan Reads Book Club, and you'll see me a little thinner, a little bit more, more energetic. It was around COVID time, so you can find me there for sure.
And you're gonna start it up again. You're gonna throw something out there, just something, a little reminder to read or something.
I could definitely start some, man. There's
that?
been so much since my last one that I've read and learned, and with my PhD, maybe that's another thing too that I can put right into.
There you go. Sure.
Dr. Melendez, dude, still surreal, man.
That'll be the rest of your life. You're gonna hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll leave it there for now.
Cool. Well,
love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too, man. Appreciate you being here.
That.
This is a lot of gratitude for all this. So
beautiful song. Outro.
If I could plug it in without losing any monetization, I'll plug it in there now. But thank you for watching this episode of the Reasons We Rise podcast. If you like this kind of content about bettering yourself and deeper conversations about vulnerability and all that comes with it, continue to follow, share, support this channel. Follow Marcos's Instagram as well, because that's what this is all about. And he's another resource when it comes to especially the topic of reading. It's important. I believe it is. I know he does too. So
yes,
go there for some good motivation on reading and faith and life and all that. So that's it. I'm gonna drop it right here.
Cool.
These parts are always awkward for me. So
thanks
for coming.
Peace.
Peace.